Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Starling, and this is a new Netflix film from director Theodore Melfi, starring Melissa McCarthy and Chris O'Dowd, who are a married couple who had a serious loss in their lives, and they're both taking very different approaches. Christopher O'Dowd goes into a support center. He's getting medication and therapy and trying to process the loss, and Melissa McCarthy is traveling all this way to see him and stuff like that, trying to garden out in beyond their quiet home, and she keeps getting harassed by this bird, this starling. It's very aggressive and angry. And this film, and then she gets this recommendation to a former therapist who's now a vet, played by Kline. She has Timothy Oliphant, who's her boss at work, and Skylar Gasondo, who plays one of her young co-workers. And this film is from the director of Hidden Figures and St. Vincent. I really like Hidden Figures a lot, and that's one of those kinds of films where it's able to balance the sentiment and the drama and not make it too cheesy and sappy. This is just drenched in sappiness and cheesiness and really bad tonal issues, because whenever this starling attacks, it's a CGI bird attacking in the most obnoxious of ways, dive bombing, ramming into Melissa McCarthy's face, and honestly, I kind of hope that the days of Melissa McCarthy just throwing her body around, because she's a plus size woman, for laughs was over, but no, it continued, and it's in this film, and it feels so out of place when it's dealing with serious loss and trying to take on serious ideas and themes, because it's a comedy drama, but the comedy is terrible, and I wish it wasn't there. I wish this was a much more serious film, because I think it would have worked better, because the comedy doesn't work well. It's really terrible CGI slapstick with a bird, and she builds this relationship with this really highly unethical situation with Kevin Kline's character, because they're just having chats, even though it's very obvious that he's trying to help her. And this isn't his profession anymore. And then Chris O'Dowd, the relationship between them, how it's written, just feels so everything you could possibly find to give them tension between them, this film throws at you. And it's really hard for a lot of the time to figure out why were they together in the first place. And the relationship really isn't convincing to me. And I don't feel like they deal with these deep and meaningful themes in the most tactful way. And I think that's one of the issues in this film, is that it's not done in a tactful way and causes a lot of issues and is very insensitive in the way that it's dealing with these issues, and everything's so blunt. If it wasn't for the cast, this film would have really felt like a misfire to me, completely not worth any time. And you have the music that's overly sentimental and obnoxious, and it's just you could tell it's trying to manipulate you, and if you could tell it's trying to do that, then it's definitely not doing its job right. And in the end, Melissa McCarthy, Chris O'Dowd, they're really trying to give it their all into emotional performances, because they definitely have emotional moments, and in general their performances work in those ways. And you have Kevin Kline, who's charming and I think is doing his best with the material that's given to him, but in the end these performances aren't enough to make up for really uncomfortable and awkward comedy thrown into a film that is tonally mixed up and getting in the way of this delivering a meaningful and passionate film about loss, grief, and coping. So in the end, I think this film is a bit of a misfire. It's not really something that I would sit through again. If you're really into sentimental, emotional films, and this is going to be on Netflix eventually, so it's go ahead, sit, watch the film, enjoy it in that way. But for me, I never really connected with it, and if it wasn't for the performances, I wouldn't really remember much about this for any good reason. But those are my thoughts on the Starling. Let me know what you think. And let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.